Hi, this is Faith Tell.
Hey, this is Bella Perron.
And this is Ashley Supa. We're the band Plush, and you're listening to Tom and Zeus on the Shout It Out Loudcast.
Bam! That's right, people. We're back with another episode of Dorm Damage, the show where anything and everything is on the table and the table gets smashed. We're back with another list, part one. Zeus, what are we doing this time?
This time we're doing TV favorite moments, not things in the movies. So television shows, specials, things like that. And we're going to just list our favorite 10.
Yeah, and this is definitely going to be a part one because this was a tough list to put together. Anytime we do these lists, I usually go like stream of consciousness. And then after the list, I'm like, shit, how did I forget X, Y, and Z here? But I don't know. We'll see. We got 10, and this is definitely part one.
Yeah, we got a lot of good things to go over. And hopefully we'll have some variety and we'll get some more feedback from you guys like we got on the movie moments.
Yep.
Can't wait. So let's get it started. Tom, do you have one to start us off with?
I do. These are not really in any particular order, although I will say this. My number one is my number one. But the rest of them, and I have a mix of comedy, like moments that made me say, what the fuck, memorable moments, emotional moments, things like that. So for me, my number 10 is from Curb Your Enthusiasm. And it was when they did the Seinfeld reunion on Curb, when they had Jerry and Julia and George and everybody back with Larry, and they try to make like a Seinfeld reunion, and it was funny, but it was also like very meta at the same time. And if you're a Curb fan, then you'll love it. And if you're not a Curb fan, then I don't know, you're not a Seinfeld fan, I guess. But I thought that was fucking hilarious. I thought that was well done, and it was really good.
Well, I remember it. It is a great episode, so I will agree with you. I'll go with number 10. I'll stay on comedy. Okay. And that is my favorite TV show, comedy of all time, and that's Sanford and Son.
Yes.
Now the easy ones are to pick, like Fred and Aunt Esther getting into fights and stuff, and those are great. They really are. But this one from Sanford and Son is one where, you're talking, the show was early 70s.
Yep.
Lamont got a ticket, and the episode's called Legal Eagle or something like that. And Fred tries to defend him in court against his speeding ticket. Now, I can't say what he says because we'll probably get canceled in 2 seconds. But this is 72, and he got away with it. And basically, he puts the white cop on the stand, and he asks him, how come the only questions he asks, like, how come you don't arrest any white drivers? And the guy goes, I do. And he goes, you do? Look at all. I can't even say it.
I know you can't.
And it's just so hilarious. There's so many beep in here. You can make a beep movie.
Yep.
It's fucking like, how the hell did he get away with it? And this is like Red Fox's comedy act that he always would put into his shows. I'm sure he's said this on his live comedy stuff that he does. Fucking hilarious. Red Fox, the faces he makes, the way he acts, hilarious.
Yep.
And that episode's called Legal Eagle, I believe. And Fred defends Lamont from getting a speeding ticket. Gotta see it, guys. You will die laughing.
Nice. All right, I'm going to go the exact opposite of comedy here. And my number 9 is going to be from one of my all-time favorite shows on Netflix, and that is House of Cards.
Never seen it.
How have you
I know it's a political show. I know I should.
Oh,
I should
dude.
Stop.
It's incredible.
I hope you're not giving away something. Like, I purposely didn't pick scenes that if you didn't see the show, you're going to be like, oh my God, like somebody dying out of nowhere.
Well, somebody dies here, but
that's great.
The show. Sorry, the spoiler alert is over because the show's old.
All right, I'm not going to listen. Go ahead.
You're going to have to listen when you edit the episode. Fuck. It's not a big. It's pretty.
Right, go ahead.
It's pretty shocking. So it's the moment early on in the season when Frank pushes Zoe into an oncoming subway train and kills her instantly because Frank, played by Kevin Spacey, who's a piece of shit in the show and a piece of shit in real life. We figured that out. Zoe, this girl, finds out that Frank had killed somebody else like off the side. And he's like, well, I can't have this come out because Zoe's going to rat me out. So he follows her to her train where she gets on her subway. He's hiding behind, like in a disguise behind a wall. The train comes and two-handed push right in front of the fucking subway. God. And I remember when I was like, what the fuck, dude? And this was early on in the show when it happened.
Great.
It's not a bit. It's not that. It's early on. It's not that big of a spoiler. It's a death, but it's nothing that affects. Believe me, there's plenty of other deaths in the show, so you'll be fine.
All right. My number 9 is from The Sopranos, and you could probably pick 100 scenes from that show.
Yeah, there's a lot of shows.
This one
like
is
that.
when they find out that Vito is gay.
Oh yeah.
Meadows' boyfriend witnessed him like blowing the guy.
Yep.
In the parking lot.
Yep.
So they're all in their the back of the sub shop where they all hang out, and Tony brings his daughter's boyfriend, who's like this nervous little geeky guy, in to tell him what happened. Just to tell him that their maid member and a member of their family is gay. And so they're all around a table, and he goes, go ahead, tell him. So they cut to the scene, and it's basically Silvio is gonna, like, everyone's like, just their mouths are dropped. And Silvio goes, okay. So when you saw the guy, the security guard, blowing Vito, and the kid's like, no, it's the other way around. Like, huh? Vito was blowing the security guy. They're all like, what the fuck? And they're all flipping out. And Paulie's the best. Paulie Walnuts is like, how much betrayal can I take? Like, it's always against him. Like, it's always so selfish.
Yep.
And he was blowing him. He's like, oh, we can't have him in our social club anymore. Social club? He's got to go. Like, all times, like, and then Paulie gets upset. And he's like, Tony, because Tony's like, hold on a second. Like, what's it hold on for? You gonna feed his family when he goes? Like, oh, I'm sorry, but what can I do? It's always against me. Like, he takes it personally.
Everything's personal. Yep.
They made that scene so hilarious.
Yep.
The Sopranos and Vito coming out and getting caught. That's my 9.
Nice. All right, number 8 for me, one of my all-time favorite shows, which happens to be a spinoff of my favorite show. And this is a scene from Better Call Saul. And
never seen it.
Oh, God almighty. Fucking fantastic. It's not better than Breaking Bad, but it's right up there. So before he becomes Saul Goodman, he's Jimmy McGill. And his older brother, Charles McGill, played by Michael McKean, who's fucking fantastic, is a very proper,
who was played by who?
Michael McKean.
The guy, Squiggy?
Squiggy.
Lenny and Squiggy?
Lenny. Yeah, he's fantastic. And he's a very proper, upstanding attorney. Jimmy McGill is like Fast Jimmy, like a kind of. So there's a scene where they're like Jimmy's brother Charles is pretty much trying to get Jimmy like disbarred because of all of his little shenanigans. So he puts his brother Charles on the stand, and his brother Charles has this like really severe mental illness where he can't be around like things that are electricity. So long story short, I give too much away, but he plants something on Charles during the cross-examination when Jimmy's interviewing and questioning his brother Charles. Charles has a complete and total mental breakdown on the stand. But the thing that makes the scene like incredibly powerful is as Charles is ranting and raving, the camera slowly zooms in until it's right on his face, and everybody, including the judge, the people not the audience, but whatever, the people who were there watching this trial, everybody is like jaw dropping, like stunned silence, because this upstanding attorney that people loved and respected was just exposed publicly on the stand as just having a complete and total breakdown. It's a clinic in acting by Michael McKean, and it's a huge turning point in the show. But I thought it's really great.
Yeah, I want to get, that's another show. It's one of those like, okay, am I ready? Do I have some time blocked away?
Yep.
That I can catch up on this show and start watching it.
Yep. It's fucking fantastic. Yep.
Yeah. So, number 8, for me, and this is a comedy, another one of my favorite comedies of all time. And this is Good Times.
Oh, yes.
But it's a serious episode.
I know. Go ahead.
This is when James's dad comes back and he and he told his family that his dad had died years ago, but they found out he's alive. And it's just that he abandoned his family, and James didn't want to tell his family, he's embarrassed. And he came to visit him on James's birthday. And it's just, the acting was so good.
It was.
And the old guy was telling him in his bedroom and he was just like, I had to leave. We couldn't feed us. I wanted to send you guys money back, but you guys had left. And James is just like pouring his heart out. And it's so amazing because you see this, I think, the best TV dad of all time, this proud man being hurt because he didn't have his dad. And he would tell him like, look, we've had hard times because obviously they're in the ghetto, but he's like, I've never thought about leaving my family. And then the guy was just like, all right, well, I understand. And he was about to leave. And then like, he says like, you know what? You always said, don't let food go to waste. Why don't you sit down and have it? And then they blow out the cake and they ask, what would, his wife says, what'd you wish for? And they looks at his dad and he says like, I wish I had 35 years back to make up for my time with him. And the look that the grandfather has of these glassy eyes about to tear up, and then they hug, and you're like, oh my God. Unbelievably amazing. It's so like,
it's funny because Good Times is so remembered for the comedy, but the dramatic elements of that show are like very underrated.
Oh my God. I for the next part 2, I'll have another one for the father. Yeah. And they're all James episodes because he was so emotional and like, I mean, greatest TV dad of all time. Love him.
Fucking awesome. Him. Yep. So. All right. Here's another one for me. Potential spoiler, but the show's old. The final episode was probably 10 years ago, and that is one of my all-time favorite shows, Sons of Anarchy. Fucking love
another
this
one
show.
I never saw.
But well, here comes a spoiler.
Oh, great.
So near as the series kind of draws to a close near the ending of the series. So Jax, the guy who's kind of like ends up taking over for the Sons of Anarchy motorcycle club, Sam Crow. His mom, Gemma, is played by Katie Segal, who's fucking fantastic in this.
Katie Segal from Gene Simmons' solo album.
Yeah, there you go. Yes. And Jax's girlfriend, or baby mama, whatever, Tara, kind of a fucking kook. So there's a plot line in there where Tara makes a deal, Jax makes a deal, trying to take one for the team. Gemma, played by Katie Segal, doesn't really know the details of the deal. She thinks that Tara is going to rat out her son. So Katie Segal is fucking fantastic, but she's also a little bit of a lunatic. So there's a scene where Gemma is all hot-headed and thinks Tara is about to throw her son under the bus. So she's like, I can't have that. I can't have my son go to prison. So Gemma breaks into Tara's house, grabs her, starts to like drown her in the kitchen sink, and then out of nowhere pulls out a fork and starts stabbing her in the back of the head and fucking kills her on the spot. Fucking kills her on the spot. And it's another one of those what the fuck just happened moment, because then Jax shows up and he's like, what the fuck is it throws the rest of the series into like a complete and total tailspin. But it's another one of those like what the fuck just happened moments. It's fucking fantastic.
So you've mentioned House of Cards.
Yep.
Better Call Saul.
Sons of Anarchy.
3 great shows that I've never seen. Which would you watch first?
Well, you've seen Breaking Bad, yes? Yes. Then Better Call Saul or House of Cards. I would save Sons of Anarchy for later.
Gotcha.
Yep.
All right. So number 7 for me, and that's one of the greatest shows, and you haven't seen it, and that's called Boardwalk Empire.
Okay.
It's probably one of my favorite shows, if not my favorite ever. Love it. It's all mob talk, history, all that shit. The 12th episode of season 3, Boardwalk Empire, is called Margate Sands. This whole season, like, Nucky is like getting beaten down and losing to Joe Massaria, the boss, Joe the Boss Massaria, and also Arnold Rothstein, and the third character, Jip Rossetti, that I don't know if he's real or not based on anybody, but he's played by Bobby Cannavale. People love his character.
I love him. I love him as an actor.
Violent, over-the-top Sicilian gangster that worked for Joe the Boss. And he talks like this. They're not going to call you Joe the Boss. They're going to call you Joe the King. I just fucking over the top. Anyways, he's in fucking trouble.
It's going to be Joe Bonanno.
The only ones that are going to talk about Joe Bonanno is Joe Bonanos. Anyways, he's getting his ass kicked. There's a guy in who almost universally is most loved character. His name is Richard Harrow. He came from World War One, and half of his face is blown off. So he wears those things they had back then, like half a mask on his face to cover up the part of his face that got blown off.
Wow.
And everybody sympathizes with him. But he's a fucking murdering fuck, like a hired like gunman.
Yeah.
And Nucky's losing, and Chip Rossetti's taking over, and all that shit. And everything gets turned around in the end of season 3, this episode. He walks in almost like the Terminator with fucking guns into the hotel that guy has. Nobody expects it. All because this little boy that he loves, it's one of the characters' son, just boom, 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 takes out guard, boom, blows the fuck. It was just one of those things like, oh man, the end is near. How the fuck's it get? All of a sudden he comes in. You're like, holy shit. Fucking love it. It is, nice. I'm telling you, Boardwalk Empire, off the charts, so many wonderful things. And that episode, when he comes in, holy shit. Fantastic.
Nice.
Anyway, that's my number 7.
All right. My number 6, one of my all-time favorite shows. And it hits very close to home because I played high school football, and that is Friday Night Lights. And you don't even have to have anything to do with football. You don't have to like football. Just a brilliantly acted show. Yep. Kyle Chandler is the dad and the head coach. Connie Britton is the mom. An incredible cast of kids. MILF. Oh, she's so hot. But I'm going to kind of cheat here because I don't have a specific moment. What I have is like a recurring moment in the show, if you ever watched it. And that is, get like goosebumps talking about it. Like in the locker room, the pregame pep talk, when he looks at the team and everybody says, clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. And then they run out of the locker room and just get ready to play. And it's just such a brilliant phrase. I've never heard it anywhere before, never heard it anywhere after. And I just think it just really hammers the emotion of like the team and the community that like lives, because it's Texas high school football. So clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose, Friday Night Lights. Fucking love that show. It's so damn good.
That's awesome.
Yep.
All right. Number 6 for me, one of the best ensemble casts in TV sitcom history in my mind is Taxi.
Oh God, yes.
So many great actors came out of that fucking show.
Oh, I hope you're picking the moment I think you're picking.
This one is my favorite episode they ever did.
Okay.
And the premise was Jim Ignatowski, who's all fucked up on drugs all the time, comes in and he tells the gang that he had this crazy dream that all these things are going to happen to Alex, the main character.
Yep.
And like some chick is going to fall in his lap. He's going to be wearing a catcher's mask. He's going to be mistaken for a woman. All these stupid things. And at the end, he's going to open the door and they're like, yeah. And on the other side is death. And they're like, what the fuck? Anyways, they're like, all right. And Alex is like, listen, I don't believe in superstitions. Stop that shit. And then all of a sudden, like later on, what's his name? Louis De Palma.
Oh, yeah.
Danny DeVito comes in. Listen, when everyone leaves, I don't know what it is about that guy, but he's fucking creepy. He knows shit. I'm telling you, let's get you out of town. He's like, it's really nice because they show that Louis cares about Alex. And he doesn't trust Ignatowski. And then like they go to the bar and some kid falls and lands in his lap. And then then Louis shows up at his house. The phone rings. He's like, no, this isn't Maria. And he hangs up and he's like, it's all coming true. And then Alex, to prove it wasn't coming true, is like, what, am I supposed to have a green sweater? Fine, I'll get one. He's like, don't do it. And he puts on the green sweater and he puts on a catcher's mat. And then there's somebody knocking on the door. And they're like, oh shit, at that exact time. And then both they look at each other. The suspense of when they open the door. I don't want to give it away. Watch the episode. Funny as hell. When that 12 o'clock or whatever time it was, the door they had to open the door. Fucking hilarious. I thought you were going to do the slow down episode when he's in class. That is great. That's the one. What does the
yellow light mean?
Oh, this show's great.
I know.
I love that.
All right, my number 5. This was one of the shows where I would literally fall asleep in bed holding my iPad trying to stay awake because I didn't want to stop watching the show, and that's Lost.
Oh, loved it.
And it was the moment it's a moment in the show when they discover the underground hatch.
Yeah.
When they first find it, and them and you, the viewer, are like, what the fuck is this? Like, what does this mean? Who put this here? What's in there? What's under it? And I just remember, I'm like, I guess I'm not going to bed now. I don't know when I'm going to bed because now I need to find out what the fuck this hatch is. So simply put, the discovery of the hatch in Lost.
It is such an unbelievably written show.
Oh, the
problem is at some point they ran out of ideas.
Absolutely.
And they started throwing these.
Yep.
And at the end, the ending is like, everybody's trying to guess it. And they kept saying, no, it's not this, no, that. So I think they just try to come up with something that nobody was guessing.
It was one of those shows.
Makes sense.
It was one of those shows. It was so good that as I'm watching it, I'm like, there's no way they're going to be able to wrap this up well. This is going to come. This is not going to
happy.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
There's so much mystery and shit that suspense.
Yep.
Oh, great show.
Yep.
All right. Number 5 for me, Tom, from the movie, TV movie, Chernobyl.
Oh God, dude, the TV series.
You remember that?
I watched that. Yes. On HBO. Fucking brutal.
Fucking believe.
Brutal.
We kind of, all of us, probably the people that are listening are the same generation as we are.
Yep.
We all kind of remember it, but we don't really know exactly what happened.
But we knew the power of the word Chernobyl. When you were young and somebody said Chernobyl, like, oh,
yeah,
it was scary.
And so I recommend everybody go and watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking unbelievable.
It's shockingly good.
There's one, like, it's Russia. So everything they try to do is hide. We can't show that this happened. We can't admit that this happened. We got to lie about this, that. So they did get some people. They'd be like, hey, okay, well, how do we fix this? And they got this guy, and it's played by Jared Harris, who's just an awesome actor. Everything he does is fantastic. And he's the scientist.
Yep.
And he's put in charge with this. It's from the guy from the Marvel movie, Stellan Skarsgård.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, he's good.
He's like a Swedish actor or something like that.
Yep.
Anyways, he's playing the gruff, typical Soviet guy, military guy, like in charge. Like, so they're flying over with the helicopter to see the damages done. And Jared Harris's characters, like, as they're flying, they're like, all right. And then he basically says, holy shit, that's graphite on the roof. That means it's exploded. The core, it's out. And he's like, oh, how the hell can you tell? He's like, look at that fucking glow. What are you talking about? And he's like, yeah. He's like, are you fucking kidding me? You know what this means? And the guy's, oh, big deal. We need to get closer. And he tells the helicopter guy, pull up, get over it. And he's like, don't you dare go to, and the scientist is like, don't you dare go over that. And he goes, you don't bid over there, I'll have you shot. And the fucking best line is Jared Harris goes, if you go over that in one day, you'll be begging for that bullet.
It's true.
And I'll never forget it.
Me too.
And
I know. I get goosebumps talking about it.
The fucking helicopter guy's like, I'm not going over that.
Yep.
fucking incredible.
And then
when they show you how the difference in how the Russian propaganda was like, oh, minimize. Oh, no, it's nothing here. And he's like, what the fuck have you guys done? Yep. You know how bad this is? And
when they started showing how they were burying bodies in concrete to make sure that like
the first few people there that didn't know they had it and they were in there,
and they were
all the boils and
they were
shit.
just like decomposing and it was just fucking brutal. Brutal.
Insane.
Brutal.
And that line, I'll never forget. You'll be begging for that bullet.
I remember that. Brutal.
Yep. You guys should see Chernobyl. It is unbelievable.
All right, let's get away.
Let's get on a happier note.
Let's get away from the horrors of this. So I'm going to go to one of my all-time favorite shows, some comedy here, well, some emotional comedy, and that is The Office. And it is the scene when Michael Scott is getting ready to leave Dunder Mifflin, and he's an emotional wreck, and he tells everybody that his last day is the next day, when in reality his last day is that day. He just didn't know how to say goodbye to people. So Jim comes in, and the tears in the eyes of Jim and Michael. I read, because I have a book on the Office, like the history of the show, the making, background. That scene, that was real emotion. They said the minute Jim walked into Michael's office to do that scene, the two of them got so overwhelmed with emotion and tears that what you see in that scene is real. Jim's really crying. Michael Scott is really crying. And when Jim says, you're the best boss I ever had, and he says like, why don't we talk tomorrow kind of thing. And just as they're talking, like they're trying to not like bawl their eyes out. And then Michael just gets up and Jim looks at him, gives him like a little bit of a nod, and Michael just walks out. And it's just, and this is, you've spent so much time loving Michael Scott, that Steve Carell character. It's just, it just rips your heart out. It's so well done.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
All right. One of my favorite shows, and I could have picked 100 different scenes from this show.
Yep.
And that's The West Wing.
Okay, nice.
So at one point there was an assassination attempt and people are having problems. And Josh, who was basically the second in command, chief of staff, junior chief of staff, or whatever they call that title, was having problems. And Leo McGarry, the older guy, called him in because he sent them to a shrink to say, like, you're having PTSD, you're having fucking issues. And they were worried he was going to lose his job. So at the end of the meeting, like, Josh admits that he didn't cut his hand on something. He actually broke a mirror and he punched it or something in a window. I forget what it was. But And he's walking out and he's like, well, what are you still doing here? And how'd it go? And he's like, it went okay. And he's like kind of beating around the bush. And Leo gives him this story and he was trying to explain to him, like, don't bullshit a bullshitter. And he tells him the story of the guy in the hole. I don't know if you've ever heard this kind of story. There's a guy in the hole and somebody walks by and seeing the guy's like, hey, help me. And the first one is a police officer or something like that. The guy goes, there's nothing I can do, man. Here you go. And he writes a ticket and throws it down there. And the next guy walks by and he's like, hey, it's a priest. And he's like, Father, what can you help me? Get me out. He's like, he writes him a fucking speech or something, or fucking a sermon, throws it down there. And then the third guy goes by, and the third guy is a friend of his. And he's like, hey, Joe, can you help me out? And Joe jumps into the hole with him. It's like, what the fuck is the matter with you?
Right.
Now we're both stuck in this hole.
Yep.
Goes, yeah, but I'm a friend and I've been here before and I know the way to get out.
Wow.
And so then he, like, it clicks to Josh, like, what he means. And he goes, and he says these words. He's like, as long as I have a job here, you'll have a job here. Like, meaning like, I'm the chief of staff here. You're not going anywhere. I'll take care of you.
Nice.
And it's just that moment that you're like, oh my God, the writing on this show is fucking brilliant.
Never
beautiful
saw
moment. Beautiful.
Never saw that show.
I'm telling you, there's like 100 scenes I could do. You would love it. It doesn't get old. The things age badly when you see these sitcoms after years.
Yeah.
It's not.
Okay.
It's a little over the top because not everybody is so like I'm here for my job and I'm passionate about these ideas. Like, shit. But they show good sides, even Republicans, even Democrats, and they debate issues and they show real life stories that show up on the president's agenda and how the office of the presidency handles it. And Martin Sheen's awesome. I just love Martin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Nice.
That's number 3.
All right.
That's number 4. Sorry.
Okay. Number 3 for me is a show where I started out like on fire with this show, gave up, came back. I'm glad I did. But early on in the show was the greatest moments of it, and that's The Walking Dead.
I knew you were going there when you said you gave up.
The first few seasons, but the one particular season that was like, it was a combination of what the fuck and just ripping your heart out emotion. It's the scene where Shane and Rick are fighting in the field. They come out of the woods. They're fighting in the field. It's dark. They're only lit by like moonlight. And this has been brewing for a while. Rick kills Shane. And Rick's young son sees it. Rick stands up, has his back to Shane's body. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Shane stands up and he's now a zombie.
Yeah.
And everybody is freaking out because before this moment, the only way you could turn was being bit by a zombie.
Yeah, they didn't realize everybody that dies.
They didn't realize that it didn't matter if you were bit or not. If you died, you became a zombie. So it was the shock. It was the shock of seeing Shane as a zombie. And it was the shock of them realizing, holy shit, we're really in trouble because you don't need to be bit to turn. And I just remember that moment. And it was everything. It was emotion. It was horror. It was shock. It was fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. So good.
Yeah. The Walking Dead. I watched it all the way to the end. You didn't miss much.
Oh, I finished it. I got to it.
Yeah. Well, did you say the same?
Yeah. Now there's like 40 spinoffs.
Yeah. It's so fucking ridiculous. Just end it.
Exactly. Yep.
All right. So for me, number 3 is another favorite show of mine. I've talked about it in the past, and it's The Crown.
Yep.
I fucking love it. And that's when the Crown starts off when the queen is a child, like a teenager, and her father's alive. Her father, the king, I think it was King George something, became king only because became king. Get X-Acto knives thrown at him. Became king only because his brother gave up the crown to marry that divorcee American woman.
Okay.
And so that former king was really reviled in England. So later on, over the time, now Queen Elizabeth, her father's dead. Queen Elizabeth, she's still young at this point. He tries to kind of like, I'm her uncle, like come back and see if he can kind of weasel his way and getting titles and getting back to being like a big shot. And people, and the story comes out, and this was proven at one point, because there was just a huge controversy, I guess, in the UK when Hitler was attacking Europe, and especially Great Britain.
Yep.
He had, as the king, he had some Nazi sympathizing kind of mentality. And supposedly he had talked with Hitler about like, I'll kind of let you come in if you restore me as king.
Oh, Jesus.
So there were stories of that came out, and they knew. And so there's a character in The Crown called Tommy Lascelles, I think is how you say his last name. He's just like, almost like a chief of staff for the Crown.
Okay.
His only job is to give a fuck about the Crown, not the people, not their fucking family, nothing.
Yep.
I've got to keep the Crown alive.
Okay.
And so the guy came in, and he was like trying to, and it felt like he was like not bullying, but like he was put on the charm and thinking he can get his way in. And then he comes in and he has a meeting, and that guy Tommy is there with the other people around him. And he's like, so is this like, am I going to get this, what I'm looking for? And he's like, no. He's like, yes, because you're an ass. You have, like, you're classless. You don't do anything for your family. He's like, I will take a lecture on anything from anybody, but not from you. And he's just basically calls him a fucking Nazi. Fuck him. Fuck off. Just the scene, the acting, it's all British. So know the acting's off the charts.
Yeah.
It is just so like holy shit, I didn't know about this.
Nice.
And the way that guy was just like, go fuck yourself. I don't care if you were the former king and I was your valet back then too, but I know you're a shitbag and you don't have that title anymore. So fuck off. I'm going to protect the crown. We're not letting you back in. We're not giving you shit. Fuck off. And that the whole show is just amazing.
Nice.
So the crown is 3 for me.
All right. Number 2, I'm going to go to my all-time favorite non-drama show. I already referenced it once, but I'm referencing again, but this is the show itself. This is Seinfeld. And I'm referencing the Merv Griffin scene.
Yes.
I don't know which Merv Griffin scene I'm talking about, but I think it's the one that me and Zeus always talk about a lot. When they got the friggin' wildlife guys, where are the cameras? You idiot! Hawks eat squirrels. So just the whole
it's a new format.
Scandals and animals. Wow, we've hit rock bottom. What do you think about a guest host? I'll pretend I didn't hear that.
Okay, we're back.
You once dated Elaine. And he looks at George. He's like, oh, wrong card.
What's wrong with you?
Just the whole fucking Merv Griffin thing.
Cheers, smell. Well, the stars of the 70s weren't as hygienic.
Yeah, exactly. So Seinfeld, Merv Griffin, baby.
Unbelievable funny show.
Yep.
I love that. All right. So number 2, I know what my number 1 is. So number 2, I'm picking between a few of them.
Okay.
And that's Game of Thrones.
Dude, I haven't seen any of these shows. This is amazing. No duplicates.
There's one specifically, the Red Wedding, that everyone talks about.
Okay.
We all know about it, whatever. I'm not going to. The next one is the Battle of the Bastards, they called it. The 2 bastard sons.
You bastard.
I have seen, the Sopranos did it and a bunch of other shows do it, where big name actors die. Like the main characters die in the show. You're like, what the fuck? And then this guy becomes the main guy. And then this guy does. I think that all started with Oz. You'd watch the whole show. You'd watch the first episode. Oh, this is the leader. He's dead. Now what?
Yeah, right.
So I will just say this. The Battle of the Bastards, they're all fighting. The main character, Jon Snow, is in this battle. I have seen at this point so many main characters die. He gets swallowed. Like the crowd is just, he's in the middle. His army's getting fucking destroyed. He's about to get killed. There's no way. I cannot see a way out of this for this. At that point, I've never said to myself ever, I'm done. I'm not watching this shit. Fuck this. Anybody I like, any happiness in this show, fucking people die. This is bullshit.
Yep.
Well, anyways, I continue to watch the show, so it should give you something. Something spectacular happens, and it gives you one of the best feelings ever. Yeah, so I would say the Battle of the Bastards, Jon Snow, watch that scene, and then you'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay. All right. So my number 1, this was easy. This came to me instantaneously. It's my favorite show of all time. It's the biggest what the fuck, holy shit moment. You're waiting for it. You know it's going to happen, but you just don't know when and you don't know how. And when it happens, you're like, okay, now what? That is Breaking Bad. And that is when Hank finally figures out that Walter White is Heisenberg. When they're at Walter's house having a little cookout in the backyard, and Hank is like, I'm going to go use the bathroom. And he sits on the toilet and he grabs a book like everybody else would. And he's flipping through the book and he's like, holy fuck. And then the episode just ends with Hank just looking up, like, and then if I recall correctly, I should probably know this because it's my favorite show. I think that was the season finale. I think, but I remember it's like, okay, now how is this show going to progress? And it just takes off in a completely fucked up direction beyond belief. But that and you know it's happening. You watch the show, like, Hank's going to find out. How's he going to find out what's going to happen? And when he does, it's just, oh my God, you just get like nervous because now what the hell's going to happen?
See, I always felt that, like, no, the way they made him react to it. Yeah. I thought that was like, oh man, why don't you just make him cool about it? Oh no. They made him like be like fucking Johnny Detective.
Oh yeah, I know. I loved it. I thought it was so brilliant. And then how he panics and he's like, we gotta go. And then like, it was so good. It was so fucking good. And then when Walter eventually finds out that Hank knows, and Walter's like, my advice to you is to tread lightly. And they're like, oh shit. Like, oh, just fucking so good. So good.
Yeah. All right. We'll end this one.
Okay.
With a series that probably could have 100 of these.
Yep.
And that's the Twilight Zone.
Ooh. All right.
In my favorite episode, and I think it perfectly illustrates our country.
Okay.
Perfectly. Written obviously by Rod Serling. It is fucking awesome. So it's like the 50s and like paranoia and all this shit. Something happens where like a light goes out on the street.
Oh, yes.
And then somebody gets hurt.
Yep.
And then they're like, oh, it was him. And then all the neighbors come out and everybody starts pointing fingers at everybody.
Yep.
Like it's a mysterious, it's an alien. He's the alien. No, he is. He is. No, he is. Yeah, but I saw him. And they're all turning on each other over a stupid little thing.
Amazing.
In the end, somebody gets shot and everything's blowing up and everything's crazy. And you're like, look at these fucking idiots. But the twist is at the end, they pan away and there's two aliens.
Yep.
And they're watching it and they're like, see, we don't even need to attack them. We can just put this in. They'll attack each other.
Fucking brilliant episode. That's
and
a
you're
great
like,
pick.
What the fuck?
That is a great pick. That is one of the most memorable what the fuck episodes ever.
Yes.
Yep.
And that was The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street.
Yep. So good.
Twilight Zone. I'll never forget seeing that and just thinking.
Awesome.
If you just rational, I'd be like, exactly. We just turned on each other.
That's
it.
They
didn't need to do anything.
That's all it takes. Brilliant. Well done. Dude, we picked 20 shows, no duplicates.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, these things are a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
So we always ask you guys, give us feedback. Let us know what we missed, what you liked, what you agreed with, what you didn't agree with.
Yeah.
And till next time, peace out, Girl Scout.